All right.
I think I caused that hiccup on that because I was trying to make sure my mic was muted because I was strangling over here.
That's all right. Always fun trying something new.
That's right. What's up, everybody? How are y'all?
Yeah.
I've
Hello,
got a
everyone.
very small screen tonight, so y'all bear with me. I can't see much. So
Well, sounds all things considered, we're lucky you're in the hotel.
yeah, the network's having a little trouble at home. My wife's not real happy about it, but I can't fix it because I'm here. So I am not at home, guys. I am actually in a motel room. I know it doesn't look like it, but trust me, this is actually a motel room. Uh,
You
so
done got kicked out.
so so yeah, I am on the road. I am actually currently in Orange Beach, Alabama. So I know I had talked to a couple of guys that were from down this way, and hopefully sometime this week we'll be able to get something set up and maybe do a meetup or something. Tonight was a bit like we were trying to get into get here, get set up, get something to eat, get the live going. So tonight wasn't really a good night for it, but hopefully someday this week we'll be able to get together with some folks that are in the area. I know there's at least two down this way that had said they wouldn't mind hanging out for a little while. We'll get a chance to do so. So stay tuned.
Sounds good. Well,
And I'm not.
made it.
I am not sick. I went to a wing place, and they claimed they had some really hot wings. So I asked them for the hottest wings they had, and they had some ghost pepper wings. And so it does have my sinuses a little messed up, but other than that, I'm okay. Little too much capsicum in my system right now.
Well, glad you got dinner. Glad you got there safe, and hopefully your week goes well. And yeah, hopefully you can meet up with some of the viewers, listeners down there. Maybe.
Oh yeah.
Maybe not flood them with ghost pepper wings, but to each their own.
Yeah. Hey, they were good for the most part. We'll see. We'll see how because ghost peppers will sneak up on you, but it took them a few minutes to really start getting hot. But some good wings. So 15 wings was a little more than I needed. My stomach is stomach. Is
they're the traditional style, or not like the boneless, chicken.
Oh no,
kind of fake wings.
No, that ain't real wings. If it ain't on a bone, it ain't a real wing.
Right, exactly. That's how I feel about it.
They're bones, bone in by bone in.
All right.
But they were good.
Well, well, we got a good house streaming in, and filling out here with the audience. And so, if people have questions, go ahead, drop them in there. We'll try to catch them. It'll be probably mostly on me today, as
I'm trying
with a small screen. So I'll try to catch them. If we miss them, we'll go ahead and throw it back in there again. But here's a quick one. I don't remember if you've used this or not, but Josh is asking if guys knew if there's a way to frame a project using easel. Now, have you used that software? I forget which ones you used with yours.
I have used easel, but as far as framing, I don't remember if there was a tool line for framing or not. I know Some softwares have it, but I don't remember if Easel had that or not.
Yeah, it's not as popular with CNC operations as it is with lasers,
Yeah.
so it's kind of hit or miss. And I don't believe I've actually used that software myself. So one thing you can do with any of them is, I mean, it's kind of an extra operation, but you can kind of set one job that just floats like a quarter or half inch above your surface, and just start with that. Have it do like a square or an oval or whatever your shape is, and so it's kind of like a fake framing. But that's one way to get it
Yeah.
done. You definitely would, you'd want to have it either just be the only job on that, or have a pause in there or such. But
Yeah, you could.
it's a way to trick it.
Yeah, especially with the Shapeco, you could actually set that up to, run like you said, 5 millimeters above the surface of material. And just do it as a profile. Do it at a crazy high speed that you're not going to be using for actual cutting anyway. And especially if you did a bit change after that with carbide motion, it would actually pause the machine to allow for that bit change, and you could just confirm through it or whatever. And once it
Hmm.
framed out properly, and then hit send.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't ever do that. I just know that this is how big my workpiece is in VCarve. This is how big this piece actually is. So I
Hmm.
don't I don't typically have to worry about
Yeah.
it with my CNC.
Yeah. If it's a CNC operation where I need to kind of register it off an existing piece that I'm not going to cut out, I'll generally, if I can, I'll have it start with my origin in the center, and then so I'll make a mark where I want that
Yeah,
center to be, and then I'll key that into the software. Say use your center as origin, then you just zero off that point, and then it's pretty good. But a few different ways to do it, and yeah, you could air cut it and outline, like Aldrich is saying there too. So.
yeah.
Um, I don't know about this. I think it's just probably the lighting for Clack, because he past couple of weeks was working on the farmer's stand. If anyone needs more pool time and sun,
I
it's
was fixing to
probably
say now.
me.
I've got parts of me are way darker than
Yeah,
the others, but
yeah,
but yeah,
no,
the arms and
no,
the arms and my arms and the face. I actually, uh, you know, pretty dark. Well, we've got the lights turned down in here. I've got this one little old lamp over here, so the lighting is terrible in this room.
yeah.
But
I
no.
mean, I think you've got more
Now
color than I do right now.
underneath here, all of this is very white, but for the most part, everywhere else is somewhat tan. Now my legs are sad, but
No, this is a very important question. How did you feel being strapped to a tree while I was camping?
guys, Steve, I don't know. I really wasn't real pleased with the role that I was assigned in that operation. I think I could have been more involved in the design, but hey, it is what it is. I Let's just say retaliation will happen. That's coming.
Yeah.
No, 3D HP. This is actually one of my other colors. I don't have many. I usually only wear the orange, but I actually do have other color shirts. Typically, uh, I don't wear these a lot, but since I've been down here where it's 110 degrees in the shade, I decided to wear them.
See, I'm just trying to help make you famous. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
See?
Well, what it is he knew that I would know how to handle a Sasquatch if one showed up. So,
Yeah. Yeah, that's
so
it.
that's why he wanted me there. If nothing else, just for moral support.
You know, um, it's kind of funny. There's the whole Myers Briggs personality test, and it tells you if you're introverted, extroverted, and all these other things. I've always flipped between the two. I'm borderline depending on the situation, and I do enjoy going out camping and spending time outdoors. But when it was starting to get dark and I had the fire going and whatnot, I was kind of like, okay, I'm kind of bored now. I'm out here in the woods by myself, no one to talk to. I was just like, well, guess I'm being a little extroverted today and missing people. But no, it was a good trip. It just was, man, that night So there was as I was setting up and as I was starting to do some of the laser stuff, I'm hearing this rumbling. I'm going, is that thunder? Because there wasn't anything in the forecast. And so I hopped out of the screen tent and looked up. I'm like, no, the sky looks okay, but it was very wooded there. And I looked on the radar, and it's just the tiniest little thunder cell just northwest of us, and of course, just heading southeast slowly. And I'm like, come on. And all it did was just raise the humidity crazy levels. And so I did not sleep very well that night.
Yeah,
it was in the 90s for humidity, and just didn't it cooled off a little bit, but yeah. So yeah, but that's the gamble you take when you go camping.
Yeah, I was actually hoping to get to do some fishing while I'm down here, but I've never fished in that out there, so I wouldn't know what to do. So I'm gonna have to stick with these little backwaters, I guess. But we're gonna see. I'm gonna try to figure it out and see if we can, if I can find somebody down here that knows what they're doing to show me. Because I know there's some fish out there. There's got to be. That's a lot of water, not have fish in it. So we'll see how it goes. But no, Brian, believe it or not, I used to never wear sleeves, but you know, my melanin isn't quite as like used to. I could not even wear a shirt, be out in the sun all day, and not have a care in the world, never get burned. But I haven't done that in a while, so I have to be really careful not to get burned. Well, I don't burn easily. I usually just turn brown, but if I stay out in it long enough with enough, especially in the summertime, I will. Especially like right up in here, these little parts here burn a lot better because they don't ever see any sun. So, but I typically just wear my t-shirts, unless I'm on a river or at the beach or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you may never get to see me in this, but I do have an orange one I can put on over there. But I brought a couple with me, but that wasn't what I wore on the way down here today.
Kevin's got a question. Got my Ultra up and going. The engraving is light with power 60 to 80%, DPI 330 suggestions. Not sure. Ultra.
Crank up the power.
Well, I mean, I guess I would need to know more, maybe like what the speed's running at. Because if you're running too high a speed, it's not going to matter what your power's at. It won't center it. But maybe a few more details on that, Kevin. Let us know more specifically what you're running with that, and maybe we can give you some help there.
Yeah. He says he got his Ultra up and going. I'm guessing he's talking about the F1 Ultra, maybe? Or is he talking about the S30 Ultra?
Yeah, that's why I was just wondering if there was more clarification on which one that is. But yeah, what more specific, what machine and material, and then also if you can help us out with the speed, maybe dial in some things to check on that.
He said it's on slate, so
okay.
Yeah, we still don't know the machine, but I'm guessing probably the F1 Ultra. I think I remember Kevin saying that he was waiting on his Ultra to come in, his F1 Ultra.
If it's the Ultra, the engraving's light. A couple things. If you're doing it in the IR mode, that focal distance is very, very tiny. So if you're off a millimeter or two, it's going to really dissipate that power. So you might want to double check the focus on that. Make sure it's spot on, and even if you think it's spot on, try just bumping it down a little bit or up a little bit, because it may be slightly off. So I would check that. And yeah, then.
Yeah, I would definitely double check the calibration on the red and blue lasers too, because I found when I got mine that what it was indicating was focused wasn't actually focused when I did it by autofocus. So you may want to double check all that, like Steve said, because if it's not focused, the IR especially, it's not going to do what it will focused.
Yeah. So I would start there. And DPI 330 with the Ultra, if you're in the, again, if you're running the blue laser, that's probably okay. If you're running the IR, I think that spot size is a little bit smaller. You could, I mean, that's probably an okay DPI though. I don't think that's going to be the issue. So
Yeah,
I
if
would, I
anything,
would,
you would think LPI would cause it to overburn if it was too high. You would think.
yeah. So start, yeah, I would start with focus and see if that helps you out.
ET. The only thing I don't know which camera you have, but if it's an autofocus camera, which I would imagine it would be, it should automatically focus no matter what your elevation with the machine. But you do want to calibrate your camera with the machine focused to the material because you want that to maintain that same height that it's going to be maintaining when you're using it. If you calibrate the camera from way up here, then when you focus the material, the camera is not going to be accurate. So I don't know what camera you're trying to use. If it's a fixed focal camera, you may have to correct that. If it's an autofocus camera, there could be something causing the autofocus not to focus properly. So it's going to depend heavily on what camera you have in there. If you're trying to, I'm assuming since you're trying to do the circles, you're not using the We Create camera because it won't work with Lightburn and their software at the same time. But I would be curious as to what kind of camera it is. I only use the ones that I have in all my videos, the little fish eyes, and I have good luck with those. That's what I put in my We Create.
Speaking of cameras, here's another question on that. Gold Diamonds asking, can't get my Rollei 10 camera to work on my MacBook Air. Lightburn keeps shutting down. Is it only shutting down when you plug the camera in, or is it shutting down just like powering up Lightburn no matter what? It's been a while since I've run. I've occasionally tested some things with Lightburn on a MacBook Pro, but I haven't tried the Lasermatic in the camera yet. So I don't have direct experience on whether that's a similar problem on mine or not.
Yeah, I haven't used it. I've used Lightburn on a MacBook Pro, but never a Air.
The other thing, I mean, on PC anyway, I've had problems with multiple cameras hooked up on the same USB bus. So I don't know if you, I mean, I know it's got the built-in one that probably isn't going to cause any problems, but if you have other USB devices plugged in, like if you have like a USB hub or an adapter, sometimes those can cause data conflicts. So try to make sure that you have just the camera coming off the laser plugged into specifically one USB port on the laptop, because I've seen that cause problems.
ET, one thing that I will tell you is when you go to the camera calibration, if you're trying to use one of the presets, don't do the full calibration on that camera. You're saying it's the one from my shop, and if that's the case, then you should not. I didn't have any problems with mine. The only thing that you may have to do is either put a piece of material in there, such as a piece of plywood or something as a backsplash, or adjust the lighting, because the thing with the We Create is that lighting can sometimes be a little bit much and wash out the photos, causing some problems. But that's usually easily remedied with a little bit of painter's tape. So.
So going back to the one before that, Gold Diamond says when they try to calibrate it, it shuts down, which is interesting. So it's reading it.
I'm assuming, camera.
Yeah, I assume at that point it's seeing the camera in Lightburn, and you would have had to have at least taken the first image. So yeah, I don't know. I'd have to hook mine up and give it a test to see if there's something weird in the Mac version or not. But I know I've had problems when I try to share the USB port with something else. So I know some of those have just the USB-C, and then you get an adapter, and sometimes it's a multi one. See if you can just plug it, just nothing else in on that port, and if you have multiples, and try that first, that might help out. So
Yeah, like I said, the MacBook Air, I've never used one of those with a laser. I got a MacBook Pro, it works fine, but that's a big hardware wise. That's a big difference.
yeah, I mean the newer MacBook Airs are pretty good unless you're, if you're really getting into heavy video editing or 3D rendering. The MacBook Airs are for the casual user, or even just the hobbyist. Even the some content creators will roll with those pretty well. So they're a decent computer, and with Lightbird running really well in it, works well. When you start getting into CNC machines, sometimes you have a harder time getting, then you start having to look at parallels and other things to run Windows, because they're a little more Windows centric on the CNC software. But
Be boot camping them.
still works pretty well for most laser applications.
It says it recognizes the camera, but as soon as I try to do something, it automatically shuts down. I don't know why that would cause Lightburn to shut down unless it's just hanging it up. But like I said, different operating system. Not sure. Sup, Cody? How are you, sir? Yep. I wore my red just for Steve today.
Well, Steve Ray, first off, has an awesome name. But yeah, I'm glad people enjoyed the kind of the off grid laser video I did. Mixed in some camping stuff. I try to keep my channel on topic of workshop related things, and not mix in too many other things. I mean, I do have some of my older RC stuff on there still, but yeah, I mean, this is kind of a mixture of some things I do, and I know people have asked about the portable setup in the past, so I thought, hey, let's take it out. Let's try to do more. I had really hoped to do more, but that whole weather situation kind of threw me for a little curveball, and then not getting enough sleep. I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna head out and get home. But it worked pretty well. And yeah, if you haven't checked it out, appreciate heading over there and checking that out. Clack makes a few cameos in there, or at least cut out, or what did I call it?
My likeness, rather.
It's not Clack on a stick, but
The scarecrow.
Yeah, well, the scarecrow. But no, I it was actually kind of a fun video to edit too. It's not my normal technical detail workshop stuff, so I'm glad it's
that was a little different for you, for sure.
Yeah. So I might do more in the future like that, but I'll keep most of it workshop centric.
Yeah. Ralph, I have done a few to where I would remove material with the laser and then backfill with epoxy. Most of the time when I do that, I'm using like black epoxy or some type of color. Typically, I'm not doing clear. But yeah, I mean, it's really no different as far as I could see than doing it with a CNC. I mean, it's the same principle. You're removing material and then you're backfilling it with epoxy. The laser probably, to be honest with you, probably would adhere better because it has the little tiny holes all in it, and it's technically going to be more surface area than if it was smoothly engraved. So, but no, it's the same, basically same principle as if you were doing it with a CNC, in my opinion, unless Steve has something different that he's gleaned from it.
Yeah, more opaque colors are going to work better because of the charred look. But the one thing I would say, no matter what, is it's going to work better if after you do your engraving, and this is true on CNC or laser, always kind of go in with a real light coating of clear first. Let that fill any voids or any fibers or grain that might soak up the color. Let that cure and then come back with your color fill, because otherwise you might get that bleed bleed through into the grain and such, and that can take a really nice engraving and ruin it when you put your epoxy in. But definitely, it's just something to play around with. It can be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Typically, if, like I said, the ones that I have done, I either spray them like with what you call it?
Just like polyacrylic or
Yeah, poly, the
yeah.
rattle can poly,
Mm-hmm.
or just paint it in there with just like some clear, regular. Uh,
Yeah, you can use
resin.
a standing sealer or whatever. I like to use, try to use, if I'm using epoxy, I'll try to use an epoxy type sealer and such. But yeah,
Yeah.
you just want to get something in there to seal that so you don't get the bleed through. So
Somebody said something about the bamboos. I'm trying to read through here, but my comment section's tiny. Uh, Greg, I will be honest with you. I started with the Ender 3 doing 3D printing, and I was able to do a lot with the Ender 3, but dude, the new A1 has taken it to a whole new level. Like some of the things that you had to know, such as how to adjust your temperature to make sure you got good bed adhesion, or how fast to run to avoid the resonance from the machine causing lines in the engraving and or the in the print. And all the research that I did to try to get decent results out of the Ender 3, you don't have to do that with this machine. Like it does the homework for you. Like I have not had a bad print or had any problems with bed adhesion yet. And it's just sitting on my table. It's not enclosed. It's just sitting on my little table. And I was a little nervous printing that 8 hour print for the stand to put the AMS up top. I was a little nervous because my wife and daughters and everybody were at home, but I was at work all day that day. And I started at like 6 o'clock that morning. And shortly after lunch, I pulled the camera up because you can actually access it, like Steve said, with your phone and look at it. And I pulled it up and I'm like, it looks good. So Brandy got home before I did that day, and I'm like, hey, go look at that machine and make sure it's not making spaghetti, because she's called me a few times and been like, hey, your machine's in here making spaghetti. But it was doing a great job, and I was like, wow, I'm shocked that it has successfully printed an 8 hour print with no issues. So far I haven't messed up anything. Like everything I have printed exactly the way I wanted it to. This thing is making me spoilt. Because it's so much easier. Like all that learning and studying and trying to figure out how to prevent elephant foot or how to prevent, this or that. I didn't need to know that. I just needed to buy one of these.
yeah,
So
these really, I feel this is finally to a point where someone that completely doesn't know what they're doing can buy one of these. I mean, their instructions on assembly. Now, the A1, I've got both of them back here. So the A1 Mini basically comes assembled. You put a couple of parts on, but the bulk of it is assembled. The A1, all you have to do is really attach the base to the tower and hook up a few cables underneath. They walk you right through it. Very simple. So beyond that, then their application, the calibration that it does, bed leveling, the flow. As a matter of fact, if you get there, so this has the media system, the automatic media system. If you get their filament, it's got RFID chips, and then it already knows what kind of filament it is. But they also have profiles for most of the popular brands out there. So you just drop in the software and say, I'm running Overture PLA of this color, and they go, I've got a profile for that. And then on top of it, the application, you don't need to know how to model to get use out of one of these. If you've thought of it, someone else probably has, and a lot of those people have shared their files right through their ecosystem or through many of the others. So, yeah, they're basically they use a lot of the same components. They're going to print basically the same. There's the size difference. So it's about, I think, about 100 to 120 on the A1 Mini versus 256 cubed on the A1. Both of them can use the 4 AMS media, the filament switcher, or you can just go with the standard single spool. So if you're just looking to making small things, and one color is fine, and it's not hard to swap out filament. Um, that right now is on sale for $200, $199 for the A1 Mini, plus a little bit of shipping and then some spools. But it's not that much more. The base unit for the A1 is 340. So both of them are very cheap. They're cheaper than the first 3D printer I bought years ago. That was literally a laser cut kit. That you want to talk about calibration nightmares. This thing was laser cut MDF with zip ties holding it together on. It was cool. It was fun.
I bet you never got a good first layer.
But it was so, as you mentioned. I mean, even on my my Ender 2 Pro, you know, I had to upgrade the springs. I was just constantly doing, you know, bed leveling and such. These make it so much easier, and if you can't get that first win, you know, hit a few buttons, have it printed out. You're going to get frustrated as a beginner. Whereas these kind of these make it very simple and let you get more into creating.
Well,
so.
just like for instance, and I'm not knocking my Ender. I had the Ender 3 version 2 Neo. I upgraded the bed springs. I upgraded it with the Fusion tablet, the whole 9 yards. Sprite extruder. I mean, I did everything I could to it to make it a little faster and a little better. And it done okay. Like, it served its purpose, but it was one of those things to where it would be printing fine, and then you wake up one day and go to print, and it will not stick to the bed. So you got to recalibrate everything. You got to play with your temperatures. You got to make sure that your filament has been ain't absorbed too much moisture. I mean, it was just so many variables that a lot of times it would get frustrating because like last time I used it, it worked perfect, but today it won't. I can't get it to stick to the bed for nothing. So so far with the new one, dude, it just works. Now, I do want to get me a better system for my filament storage for long term. When I'm putting it up, I do want to get me a dehydrator to put it in, but that's a small problem right now because with mine being in the house, hopefully there won't be any major ups and downs with the humidity. But so far, that thing, the bed adhesion, like the stuff is stuck until it gets down to room temperature, and then literally you can just pick them up and they just turn loose. They just like pop right off. I don't even have to twist the bed, and like literally they just pop right loose.
Right. Yeah.
So
unless you get
unreal.
impatient and want to pop it off early, but yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, the other cool thing is this is the first one I've had that has the automatic media thing on it. So this is printed in 2-color. And I just did it by layer, so this is kind of raised off the top of this basically coaster thing. So you could of course have it be flush, but that's the thing is every time it goes to change filament, it does a purge, and it's got to pause, dumps a bunch of filament out, switches back. So the more times it switches between filaments, it's time, and it's also wasted filament. So if you're into like a lot of the miniatures and the props and the things like that, and you want the multicolor for design aesthetics, it can do it. It's going to slow it down and it's going to waste filament, but it is cool when it does it. Functional though, I mean, it's more of a novelty thing for me, but it is kind of cool that it does that. I mean, the other cool thing is if you're printing out a larger item and say you had a black spool that was almost out, well, you could load up another black spool over there, and it technically should, once it senses the one's out, it go, okay, we got to switch over to the second black and just keep going. Whereas if you ran out of filament on other printers, you better be there to catch it. Otherwise things cool down and you get weird layer stuff. So yeah, I'm really impressed with both these. I bought the A1 Mini on that sale, and then when in talking with Bamboo and things I was doing with it, they've supported both David and I, saying, hey, why don't you guys play around with this one? So
it's a game changer, dude.
I'm really happy
unreal.
with this, and this is one I would honestly feel comfortable with someone that's fairly new to it. Say, get this one, start playing around with the app.
Oh, I felt bad because my buddy Chris was wanting to get into it, and I told him, I said, well, look, Chris, I got this new one. You can have the Ender and learn it. And I mean, because it does a good job, but after I've been running this one for a few days, I'm like, man, poor Chris. Poor Chris.
Yeah.
Because it is. It's like You don't have to have a degree in engineering to work that much the bamboo. Like literally, you just tell it this is what I want to make, and this is the filament I'm going to use, and they've got everything worked out through the cloud and everything to where it fixes things for you. I was even concerned that by putting the AMS up top, it was going to cause it to shift more and
Yeah.
just change the whole resonance of the machine. But so what I did is I did those prints. Once I put the machine together, I got it in its set up resting spot. I went ahead and ran full calibration, the resonance testing, the XY test, all that. Just let it run for. It takes about 20 or 30 minutes to run all those tests. And the very first print I did, perfect. I was like, okay, I'm very happy with it. I really hate that I'm not there messing with it now because it has been fun. I have been running that machine every night since I got it, and it's done me a good job. But it is a lot easier than the Ender because you don't, like I said, the thermodynamics of plastic is really not a concern with the bamboo. You just figure out what color you want, put it in there, download the file, hit print, and it works. So
Mm-hmm.
it's nice. So definitely better than the Ender that I had, even with all the upgrades.
Yeah.
But
and Extreme Elements made this comment: buy a bamboo if you want to enjoy printing. Buy an Ender if you want to modify and upgrade, and learn what 3D printing patience is. And that is one of the if you are someone who likes to tinker and modify things, these are very closed source. These are like Apple. They're not going to let you play around with the hardware. They're not going to let you play around with the settings in there too much. And so they do work. They work well, but you're kind of stuck in their ecosystem and what they offer you. Now, they do. I would say one of the downfalls on these, not really downfalls, but disappointments. They do have a camera built on there, and it's okay for checking on it, but it's not great. And so that's one of the upgrades I see a lot of people do is they'll mount like a Blink or a Wise camera on there to get a more like real time view of what, because the other one's
yeah,
it's like one frame every 10 seconds or something like
yeah, I was
that.
going to say the frame rate on it is
Yeah.
ridiculously slow,
So
but I mean it works
yeah,
for what it is, I guess.
yeah. So if you like tinkering, and like being able to modify it deeply, this might not be the one for you. But if you just want to be able to, like this is a print in place hinge. I just popped it on there about 20 minutes before the stream just to play around with it, and it came out perfect. And there's no binding; it's there. It works as a hinge.
Yeah,
That's just kind of some of the fun. If you're building a case for your or an enclosure for your laser, you need some hinges. You could print them out. Um, they're not
well
going to be as strong as brass, but
that little toolbox that I made for my A1, like it was a print. It was a one print, the full thing printed in place, and it's actually got hinges, and the hinges work.
yeah. So this one, I
So
found this one too. This one's similar to yours, so it
yeah,
holds all the tools for it. And this lid either snaps on the top, as long as I don't have the bags in the way.
yeah,
It either slides onto the top like this, or you can flip it around and slide it on the bottom as well. So, you know,
yeah,
and that's just it was a member created item, and that's the cool thing about this is it's great when you can make your own files. And yes, I know Woodworker Gene asked, will we be doing some tutorials on that? I do plan. I want to show how to make some basic ones at least. Um, and I'm gonna force myself to use like Tinkercad. It's a free online thing that someone but that's the perfect thing for people getting started in 3D printing is using some of these free basic modeling tools and then being able to import it. So yeah, definitely. Not we got to get through our kind of our initial run in with them as far as getting used to what they do and kind of highlighting just the getting
yeah.
started stuff. But from there, definitely I printed out an RA2 jig for the regular F1, and so that we'll be showing things. And I dropped a short today on my channel of just printing out honeycomb pegs and then just a little random bin to hold them in. So a lot of it's kind of half and half for my household. There's the random fun tchotchkes that you print out, the fun stuff. But then there's all the little useful things. My wife's always asking me like, "Hey, there's this camera thing. Can you print that out as well. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
there'll
Well,
be more out there.
and you can also come up with some pretty interesting CNC hold downs. That's one thing that
Yep.
I like about like with my Shapeco. I could actually download uh, their build files for the CNC hold downs from them and print the same green hold downs that come with the machine. Now they're not going to be the high pressure injection and molded, ABS or whatever, but they'll work. So that's another cool thing is you can just make your own tools and stuff with it. But somebody asked, do we have a Facebook group? Extreme Elements. We have the laser engraving community page. There should be links to it in the description on Steve and I's channel.
Mm-hmm.
Both of us have links to the group, and that's kind of where we just kind of troll through there, like share pictures and keep up with you guys, answer questions and stuff like that. I think Cody, a few other guys in here are members is also as far as like 3DHP. I think Jerry is a member there, and we just kind of troll through and answer questions and try to help you guys out. So yeah, we also have the map. If you want to put your name on the map, you can do that as well with those links there.
Yeah, we've got links down to that. There's a form you can fill out, and then also a map. That reminds me, I'm going to need to check that and make sure I import any new pins tonight. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, Patrick's just saying the P1S is an amazing printer. That's kind of like the next step up in the Bamboo line. That's more their enclosed printer, and then when you're wanting to get into some more specialty filaments, and actually that gets I believe into a Core XY. So if you think this one's good with the bed slinger,
Yeah.
you definitely want to check that out in the future.
Well,
That was the one I was looking at until I saw the A1 Mini was $200. I'm like, well, shoot,
I
that could
mentioned
probably
to
replace my other one.
them. Yeah, I mentioned to Bamboo during my emails that I would like to be able to do ABS, and that I felt like the next one up would be what's the P1S or whatever would be a good candidate for that. And so we'll see. They mentioned that might be in the future. So we'll see if it comes through. If it does, I'm gonna be in a mess because I'm out of space in the house. But I'm gonna be honest with you. I got a buddy that's like, if you get another one, I'll tell you. I'm like, dude, I may with the way that thing runs, I may just have two of them. I may just have my own little print farm because I'm telling you, no comparison between the Ender and this thing. The speed that this thing can achieve, even as a bed slinger, is unreal.
Yeah,
I was shocked.
Well, I think if you got the P1S, you'd probably swap out your. Well, I don't know. I mean, I like having the mini and that size because a lot of the projects like those honeycomb pins, they fit right on that bed, no problem. I could print out probably 30 at a time if you really need that many.
Well, the print speed of the mini is probably real comparable to the full grown A1 too, is it not?
They're basically the same. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, a lot smaller footprint at least.
Yeah, it doesn't take up as much space, especially if you're okay with just one color at a time. You like I said, you can hook this up to it, the AMS multi unit. The same one works on both, but yeah, I'm leaving that one as a single spool holder on there, and I left mine down. I thought about printing that thing, but I've got the space over there for it, and plus I didn't want to block my NASA sign, so I mean. I just left it on the shelf there, but it does, widen the footprint there. I guess if I did set up a farm, I'd be looking at something else.
Yeah. Gray, that looks like you used my my machine profile because my profiles are saved on my Z drive. But if you'll just unlink that, you can go back in there and relink your libraries. That's just a simple setting with that machine profile. Just go down to your libraries for your burn and either unlink that one and create a new one or link the existing one that you have. But that's when I re-import machines. Sometimes I have to do that too. But it'll usually map back to mine because mine are always going to be in that Z location.
Sure. North Alabama Smokes asking, has anyone ever cut Mylar material with a diode? Got a customer wanting me to cut templates out of Mylar for a craft shop.
CO2.
Yeah. Well, it depends on the color. It is just polyester based, so it would be safe to cut it with that, as long as it's not transparent, translucent.
Well, the stuff I've got is like almost a white color, but
Mhm.
blue. It just blue light just travels all through it, and
Yeah, yeah. So
it
it would have
melts.
to be a dark opaque color. Um, I've like Clack said, I've cut it on a CO2, but if you got like black mylar, um, it would probably work.
ET, the camera that I use is the 100, and I think it's a 155 or 165, 155, I believe, lens. When you click the link, there's two or three different ones. They may have sent you the wrong one. I have had occasion where they send like the 75-degree lens instead of the 155 because they sell a bunch of different ones. So if you didn't get the, I think it's 155-degree lens, then you may want to exchange that guy. But that could be what the problem is it's zoomed in too much. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think that one's a fixed zoom as well, or a fixed focus. If you get the 150, the 75, I think it's a 75-degree lens. Maybe you need to increase the shack space. Oh, I definitely need to increase the shack space. I plan on building me a building eventually, but I got to retire first.
Yeah, I've now expand. Now I've got the 3 workspaces because no one else in my family they don't like hanging out in the basement so much. So I've got this office area down here. Well, now I've got actually the 3 printers sitting up over there, but I I also have the other item, if I can get it to show up. Maybe not. It's not going to play nice. There we go. That.
Uh-huh.
So
Is that your fancy X tool crafting machine?
that is the fancy X tool crafting machine.
I'm gonna tell May May.
So it's
Steve's
my
doing paper
office.
crafting.
My office is quickly becoming another workspace. so
Oh,
yeah. Matter of fact, I
Steve,
could probably kick this off here. Let me see if you go ahead and answer a question here. I'll get something
Steve's
going on
doing
this
paper
one.
crafting. I'm gonna tell May May on you.
You should.
She's gonna tell you to stay in your lane. Oh, Robbie, I will tell you this because I have been doing my research on the AMS. You can do it one of two ways. You can do multiple colors, like you could do 2 blacks and 2 whites, or you could do all black, all white. But you can use it basically to, like, if you're printing in black, and let's say you've only got a little bit of filament left on the roll, you can actually go into the settings of the machine and set the AMS to basically, when it runs out of filament on this roll, to exchange it over to the other one. So the benefit that I see with the AMS from a single filament perspective is, instead of like with my ender, to where you wind up with these spools that have like 6 feet of filament left on them because it wasn't enough to finish a job. With these machines, you can in fact run that roll completely out and then have it substitute the next roll in there, and then just fill it up to where, like, basically when this roll runs out, just go ahead and start sending this color, and you just set those to the same color. But yeah, you can use it for, like, basically to have like a never ending spool of filament. uh, I've got mine set up to where I've got the black, I've got white, I've got some green, and then orange. But I also have thought about using some of my old Creality filament and stuff with it, as, like, you know for supports and whatnot. But the way it's working right now, I really don't want to give it anything other than just the stuff from Bamboo. So what you got it doing now? Is it cutting paper, or is it marking, or is it lasering, or what's it doing today?
So this has it's got the pen module in it right now, and their pen's kind of like the fine tip Sharpies. but
Mm-hmm.
they fit the carrier, and apparently maybe Cricut pens work in there as well. So you can set it to either line mode or a fill mode. So the one that's already in there is actually just the line mode. That one took about 5 minutes. This one says it's going to take maybe 16 because it's going to actually fill in everything. So I guess it's kind of hard to see that a little bit. But anyway, it's going to run for a little bit. But yeah, it's just stuck down. That pad in there is kind of that sticky back stuff. And then it's just a regular piece of copy paper in there with a pen to play around.
Yeah.
Jeff, yes, so the in the short video I did out on my channel, there is honeycomb pins. They were actually off of the bamboo. It was one of their online models, and I had to upscale it because the weave worked more for like the Elegoo honeycomb, which had closer to like a 7 millimeter weave. I upscaled it by, I think, about 17% to get it closer to 8.5 millimeter, and that fit into the Lasermatic honeycomb really well. But I'll try to find that, and I'll reply to your comment on the short with the link to the one that I used. But yeah, it's a nice. Actually, let's see if I can do
Tell you what's
this.
crappy? I bet I got 10,000 bottle openers in my shop, and I ain't got one with me.
Let's see if I could share this real quick. So this is the file that dropped right into the and then I just went ahead and well, I had to select them all, and then took the scale factor and went like 117 to increase them after just doing the math with the calipers, and then I printed them off that way. So
Sweet.
all right.
Good deal. That's a nice color you got there. Did you do those in green, or did you do those in a different color?
No, I did them in white. That was just from the profile or whatever the file that they were shared in. I suppose I could have done them in orange, but then people would have thought I was a Clack Shack or something.
It's apple juice. I always just drink apple juice.
Mm-hmm.
See? Right there. Oh, it's invisible.
Get my chat back. There we go.
It's invisible. Oh.
So Sharon, yeah, the cool thing with this is they actually have a few different modules, and one of them is actually an inkjet printer type module as well. So I literally just unboxed this today, and these are the first two things I've been playing around with. But from what I understand, without the riser, the issue you run into is there's not a lot of Z adjustment on here, and so it kind of expects it to be down at that paper level. So if you don't have the riser to make that somewhat adjustable, you could drive the pen into a thicker object, and then it's not gonna work. But in theory, you could draw or print on wood, just as you're at, it's got the cutting modules and whatnot as well. So there's a foil embossing module. There is a roller module. I think that's more for cutting like fabric. There's a fine point for cutting things like vinyl and paper. There's a heavier blade for cutting things like leather. And then it's a 10-watt module. They're apparently coming out with a 20-watt for laser cutting. And then like the inkjet mod. I think that's most of it. There's about 5 or so different things on there.
Wow.
So yeah.
Yeah. So that's like a Swiss Army knife of machines.
Yeah, it's I'm always, and I told them this when they asked me about it. I said I tend to be a little leery of all-in-one machines, but
Yeah.
with this kind of being aimed at more of the crafting thing and the different things you can do with this, that's a little bit different than something trying to be a laser and a CNC router and a 3D printer all in one. So
Yeah, that I'm gonna have to put Maymay on you for that one. I'm just gonna throw that out there. I am going to throw you under a bus with Maymay because she's always telling me to stay in my lane and don't be cutting paper with my lasers and
well,
stuff.
well,
So
maybe what I need to do then is just find one of her project videos and say, all right, so you saw how Maymay did it.
oh, she's gonna get you. She'll get you. One of her people gonna tell her that you're gonna do it too. Hey, she got snitches all over the place. they'll dime you out.
Well, she's far more creative in that realm than I am. So
Yeah.
we'll see. Maybe next time I come down there, I'll have to schlep it with me, and we'll go hang out at her store for a bit. See what
Hey,
trouble we can
I've
get
tried
into.
giving her lasers, but she hasn't really been into them yet. So we'll see.
This one might be the one that puts her over.
Never know. No, Brad, I just I gotta use one of my cups. Oh, there it goes. It makes my cup invisible when I go up here with it too. Woo! But it's one of my black cups that everybody said wouldn't be black for very long. It's still black. Oh. Steve, please tell us you have Defenders. No, that's not Defenders, I don't think, is it?
I don't know that I have that on there. It's been a while since I've gone through the game list on there. Because I have a few different emulators on there. So it's got like Atari, it's got Super Nintendo, it's got Sega, it's got some just general arcade ones, but I'd have to look.
Well, Sharon said when you do a video on printing on wood, you need to make sure you need to make sure you do a video when you do it. She says.
Yeah, I think that this is the kind of thing where it'd be interesting to, like the kids' puzzle things where they will take their name or animals and things and do the cutouts. I think this one could do that interestingly in the fact that you could legit multicolor print out something, whether it's their candy cane letters on their name or the animals actually being printed on there, or you could use it to print out and cut out and glue on and such. So we'll see. That's part of the problem with this machine is that there's so many different things you can do with it.
So what you're saying is you're gonna be making videos with that machine for like the next 3 months.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's almost like information overload where you're start thinking, you start getting yourself into just a rat's nest of ideas, and then you're like, well, what am I doing with this thing? So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what I come up with for it. I'm really curious in the different mediums that it can cut and how you can kind of combine those. So it'll be kind of fun, a little bit different.
Yeah, true. ET, I'm glad you figured it out, bro. That's definitely sounded like what it was. But yeah, they sell two different lens types for that camera. But yeah, the I think it's 155, 165 degree lens is what I run, or maybe it's 135. Anyway, they have a fisheye and a non-fisheye. But glad you figured it out anyway. See you later, Greg. Have a good one. STL Woodworking. Well, Willow Tree right now, the most powerful one that I've got in my shop is the 30-watt Monport right now, and so far it seems to be doing a really good job. I haven't ran it, for a terribly long time, but as far as the being able to set it up, having MOPA capabilities and all that, so far I'm really digging the Monport one. But I've got several other of the dual use machines that I'm trying out in the shop. So, but those those work if you like having the blue and the fiber capability, but for a task built fiber machine, this is only the second one I've ever had, so not really as well versed in that as I am diodes. So far, it's doing a good job though.
Thing's making some noise doing what it's doing.
Do what?
Oh, just that it's making a little bit of noise filling in those thin letters on bottom.
Oh, you talking about your little
Yeah.
6-in-1 machine over there?
Yeah.
Hey, if they would throw a spindle on the side of that thing, they'd have it covered, wouldn't they?
Well, like I say, I'm you get too many things and then it just becomes sure it can kind of do each one but doesn't do any one well, and so that's where maybe you mix one or two things, it's okay, but you start getting too much,
Yeah.
something's going to suffer. So
I mean, the Swiss did a really good job with it with their little army knife. It worked out pretty good for
yeah, but
appreciate it, Rich. How are you doing there, sir? That's the way I usually just listen to people while I'm working too. I feel you. Oh, to the left an inch or two, it will look like you have a halo. Oh, if I used to like right here. Well, I can change the background. That was just kind of the most suitable, I guess you could say. But I have, I have other stuff. Let me see what else I got in here. I mean, I could, if we really want to, like, I could have like a cool laser background right here. I've got that in several colors. I mean, if y'all need it in a different color. I don't know why these pictures were taken like this with all these random colors, but hey, that's from back in the day. I don't know. Half the stuff that's on my laptop, I don't even know where I got it from. Like there's a picture of an Acer. I don't know what I was doing. Maybe I was just playing with the camera one night and a light. I bet I got myself a light and I was like, oh, this light's cool. I can make all kind of weird pictures.
Yeah. Cali Vapor's asking, my Atom Stack A70 runs into the frame on the right side. Did I miss a connection? If it's on the right side, that the homing should be the front
origin. Left. Yeah, the origin sounds like the origin might be bad. Wrong.
Well, I was going to ask for clarification. Is it when it's homing or is it like during a job or whatnot? Because if it's just turning on and running into the right side, you might have your origin backwards. If it's during a job, then double check your file setup, or I just derailed a little bit there, but
make sure you're in absolute coordinates.
Yeah. Check the absolute coordinates. Make sure that it's not starting from current position and actually using its home location. So.
Yeah, the lighting in this terrible. It's making me look white. Yeah. I'm getting accused of having makeup on again.
That's when I frame and then I autofocus and frame again, it happens.
Yeah. The autofocus.
When you autofocus,
A70 shouldn't be doing that though.
Does it give you any sort of error when you autofocus? I ran into that issue where it wasn't moving far enough. So it was a situation where the laser was sitting on the same level as the bottom of the honeycomb. So the honeycomb was actually up, 3/4 of an inch. And then when it was trying to autofocus, it would air out and need to do it twice, but then it loses its home position and then it would kind of go off into the wild. So are you getting an error on the autofocus bit? It might point us in the direction.
Yeah, I think that's what yours was. Yours was given an error, and it was resetting the 0. I think because of the error, it would it was resetting the 0. Yeah, so I bet that's what it's going to be. I bet the Z-axis needs to be recalibrated.
Like you visitor.
Yeah, I see that. So I don't have any cattails in my videos today.
This is Pippin.
She said, "Pimp, it ain't easy."
No air pressing the button on the machine, just hitting the frame air sound. Uh, you hitting the focus button on the or on the controller?
Hmm.
And are you running Lightburn or just trying to run files like G code files off of a flash drive? So, because that's one thing that at least in Lightburn I was getting the error that the autofocus was failing because of I forget the exact error, but basically it wasn't detecting an
Oh,
actual portion.
I was going to say it was the travel distance
Yeah.
not far enough or something, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It says on the frame, yeah, using Lightburn. Yeah, I bet it's losing its zero when the autofocus is done because of an error. May have to watch the console and hit the little button for it to show all the text in the console, and just watch for the traffic back and forth.
So yeah, in the manual, there is a setup because you said you didn't know there was an autofocus in Lightburn. You need to set up a macro for it, and then you can use the autofocus from Lightburn rather than the button on the machine, and then you might be getting an error because when that fails, it actually resets it loses its home point.
Yeah,
Um, so
yeah.
it
I
could
can't
be.
remember. I can't remember what the macro is, but I think me and you both probably went over that in our Lightburn setup on videos. And I don't have access to any of my stuff tonight because I'm not in the shop. Hmm. Yeah, I'm still locked out of my house. My network is still down. I bet my wife's not happy, but I'm not there to fix it. The resident computer guy is not there. There it is. Rich says it's ESP
There
500
you go.
in
Yeah, I was trying to
brackets.
bring it, just trying to bring the manual up online. But
Yeah, well, I don't have access to any of my stuff here, so. But yeah, if you'll just change one of those macro buttons and add that bracket ESP 500 bracket, and then use that command as a macro to set the focus, you should be good. Now, I will tell you this: when you're setting the machine up and you're setting the module, make sure that the focus uh, probe is able to touch the surface that the legs of the machine are sitting on. Don't put a honeycomb under there until you get that module adjusted and everything. Because that's where Steve ran into the trouble, because it basically subtracts 3/4 of an inch away from your Z travel, and it can cause an error when you're trying to get that thing set up the first go around.
yeah, well,
Greg's asking how to resize test settings in Lightburn. The easiest way is just to change the size of the little squares. You can change them and the number of them. The little squares. If you make them 5x5, it's going to take up twice as much room as if you make them 2x2s, 3x3s.
got a little bit of a lull here. So,
Yep.
I
I'm trying to
think
read.
looks like my little paper job is done there.
Oh, look at you. Your paper crafting is done. May May. I'm going to get May May on you.
Sticks to this pad down here.
What? You got a writing pad in there?
It's a sticky pad. And of course, now the paper's all curled because it's pulled off. But there you go. One was an outline, and the other is filled in. It's pretty impressive. I'm not seeing my camera here is just not good enough quality, but I'm not seeing lines like individual lines from the marker. It's actually a pretty good fill on that. So
it's doing what with it, like a marker?
Yeah, here, let me grab one real quick.
So you got like a whole box of crayons over there goes with that thing, or what?
Well, a box of 8. So they're literally just like a little fine point Sharpie there. If I can get that to focus in on there. And then that goes into a different little cap that plugs into the module. So I'm not sure what all types of markers would work in there. But
you see what Mark has to say about that, don't you? Mm-hmm.
Yes, well, it's no 30-watt MOPA.
Hey, you can't get that though. You got the crafting, like that thing right there will make a crafter out of anybody. You got like the crafter's dream there. So I mean, we all know hashtag Steve's X Tools favorite. We all know. Let's see.
It's definitely interesting to test out, but this is all I've done on it so far is draw 2 pictures.
You got a long way to go.
This one took a little over 5 minutes, and this one I think it was said 16. So
Okay, so speed is not really its thing.
Well, the problem with this one, a problem with my logo is I have those little stitch marks.
Mm-hmm.
So it had to go around and make all these tiny little circles on this one. That takes a long time. If I took all those out, I'm sure this would go much faster.
Yeah.
But yeah, Chris, I'm sure it's just a little plastic adapter, so I'm sure you can model it for different diameters and such, and as long as you can get the right height. But like I say, I don't know that there's a Z way to adjust it, so I'll be curious to see what I can do with anything thicker. Like you say, if I wanted to put something on this box or something.
Let me ask you this: I'm guessing you said it's a felt tip, so it's not spring loaded. Like the marker's not spring loaded or anything.
Right.
So
right.
Yeah, if you put something thick in there, you might snap the tip off of your marker.
Yep. Yep. But yeah, I mean the next level would be to do this on something, maybe mark on vinyl, or print using their print module, and then cut it out. Maybe laser. You can make some crazy magnets and such. I don't know. I mean, it's similar to what we do, but just more with crafting type materials and such. So it's got different blades and everything for that.
Nancy said that there's a living room and a kitchen. She thought it was only a sublimation room and a laser room.
Yeah.
Hey, that's about the way your place is over there. You've got what, 3? You got a basement. You got a basement shop, a basement office. Now you've got a building outside. I tell you, I think you're spoiled. You get all the cool toys, and you have too much real estate over there. And I'm stuck in my little shack.
Yeah. Well.
Yep. See there? No mini split.
I mean, that's
because yours is a basement.
You may have noticed in my videos and other things and live streams, I've been spending more time down here than out in the main shop. Yeah. It's part of the reason.
Greg, you can move it using the in the speed test. There's a center of like, I can't show you because I don't have a computer hooked up to this machine, but there is a center of work area, and you can change that setting to like 50 or whatever to move it to different corners of the work area.
Yeah, there you go. That's not going to do it, right? Hold on. I got to redo that. Because that was it's a pop-up window. Or it's not in the main one, so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, your screen capture is not going to see it. Yeah,
There
I
it
would.
is.
Like I said, I can't do it. I can't do it with my. Yeah, there it is.
So you want to change the Y center and your X center, and then that will move it around your workspace. I can't really. They don't really show that in the preview, but yeah. So what I do is I will adjust my Y center, X center, and then I'll do a frame, double check that it's in the right spot, and
Yeah,
then
make sure it's
once
got
you're
enough
good to
room.
go, yeah. Once you're good with that and good with all your parameters, go ahead and hit start. So
Yeah. Cool. Glad you got that because I would have a hard time with it on my little screen I got going on right now. Yeah.
Yep.
I do have an air conditioner, but then again, like I'm down here in the, closer to the equator. So,
Well,
uh,
I don't know if people have been watching the national weather forecast stuff lately, but there's a pretty bad heat wave coming, and it's kind of centered over Minnesota, where Alabama's like, yeah, you'll be average to a little bit warmer, so you'll still be hot, but it'll just feel worse for us because it's not supposed to be hot.
dude, it's been raining down here like every day. I think we've got 12 inches of rain in the past month. Like it's been ridiculous.
Yeah.
Samuel says that he's got the X70 Max 2 Creality 10 watts and a Bamboo P1S in a 12 by 12 room. He is crammed in there.
I
That's
mean,
small.
you get creative with your setup and your workflow, your
Yeah.
storage. You can do a lot in a small space.
Well, my shop's only like 24 by 20. So I mean, you've seen how much crap's in there. I mean, it's busting at the seams. But luckily, I have my friends Bill and my friends Klein and Chris that like to come over and help me keep things put up. Like they'll volunteer to take stuff to their shop and get it out of my way.
Well, that's
So I
so
mean,
nice.
at least I have those kind of friends, I guess.
I wish I had friends like that would take my stuff away.
The bad thing is though, they try to take the stuff that's still connected. So Tim says Gatlinburg, Tennessee is flooding right now.
Oh no.
Yeah, see, and that's hard to believe that up in the mountains like that, but you start getting that water coming off those hills and funneling through those valleys, it can get dangerous. You start having rock slides, mud slides, and stuff like that. But yeah, it's something else.
Yep. Well, and we have that in my immediate area because we're literally in a river valley, and so when we get all that rain, you get a lot of that mudslide and rock slide stuff. If you watch my video, of course, I tried to show some of the roads on the way there, and a lot of that. I mean, when I say it's agriculture down here, a couple of those scenes, I mean, it's just like cornfield, soybean field, small cluster of trees because there's a farmhouse there. It's wide open and whatnot. So it's not as flash floody from it coming down from the hills, but it's just you get this saturation, and I mean, those fields will be flooded, even though there's no hills around. It's just so much.
Yeah, Rich said his shop's got flooding 7 times this year. That's why he moved. But now, in your defense, Rich, the whole town is below sea level. Like, I mean, you kind of got to expect it. Like that's where I'm at right now. I'm actually above sea level because I can see the sea out there. But I have been to New Orleans, and the whole place, like you're like looking up to see the water. Like it's crazy. It's crazy how that place is as far below sea level as it is. It's like a big bowl. If it ever gets water in there, which, like I said, during Katrina, I can remember what that place looked like, and it was no fun. Oh, he says he's 4 foot above sea level where he's at. That ain't much.
Well, I'm excited to see what Rich does with his new space. He was kind of showing off a little bit of it last night, and it'll be cool to see what he's able to make in there, and have. Looks like maybe you got a little more space to move around. So fun stuff. If you're not watching Rich's stuff, you should be. I don't know why you're watching us if you're not watching him.
Yeah, if they're watching it, chances are they already know about Rich. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I got plenty of people volunteering to take the MOPA. See, that's not a problem that I'm having right now. Just getting rid of it. Everybody Klein came over the other day. I did get Bill. No, it was Chris. Chris took the Niji 4 Max with him. He's wanting to start doing some stove covers and needed something that was capable of doing a stove cover panel. So he took the Niji 4 Max with him to do stove covers with. Uh, but that one was hanging on the wall, not really bothering me, but I can use that space to hang something else now. So, but yeah, it's hopefully it's going to slow down a little bit. Now that I've got Steve has the multi crafting machine, maybe that'll keep Xtool busy for a little while. Because I don't know that they would get me in trouble. Because if I got one of those, May would be all over me if she saw me like printing on paper, cutting paper, embossing some kind of paper. I mean, so
well, I will. I'll see if I can foil emboss the Clack Shack logo on stuff.
I'm telling you, she's going to be like she tells me, "Stay in your lane. Stay in your lane."
Yeah, but yeah, no. If people have curiosity about now they're calling it the M1 Ultra, but even on the retail box I got, it's also called the M2. But it's a multi-device machine. If you're curious about what it's something it can do or a project, shoot me your ideas, because I gotta figure out some things to do with this. And I always appreciate when I can tailor it more towards what people are curious about. So,
jeez.
Yeah, need to get back into the gym there a little bit, or what, buddy?
No, I'm trying to open bottles with that. And it was like I had it under the edge of the glass, I guess, because it wasn't budging. I was like, geez. Oh, you would think a guy with as many bottle openers as I have in my shop would have a bottle opener, but no bottle openers.
You mean like a fancy laser engraved bottle opener?
Yeah, I've got some of those in the
CNC
shop.
cut?
I've got some of those in the shop, but I did not pack one to bring with me. So, no, nobody had. I think best I can tell, either Lightning got my ISP's machine or something, because the shack is actually run off of their equipment, and then I've got a different router inside the house that runs the house network, and I can't even access the shack. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be my ISP's router that's went down, which I could probably correct the issue if I was at home, to where I could hardwire into it and get it going on my laptop and just replace it with another piece of equipment. But it's hard to do when you're not at home. And I have no way of getting in there right now. Let's see if anybody. I'll be right back. Be right
back. So let's see what else we got here. Yeah, I think Tim's a little clairvoyant. But yeah, so 3D printers coming out as far as some content coming soon. Talked a little bit about the M2. Of course, I also have a number of project videos that I'm looking forward to sharing with everybody as well. It's been a bit of a busy summer, but I'm trying to get back into it. And so looking forward to that. And the semester startup at fall will hopefully mean I get to even take some vacation days. So definitely more things coming soon. What does the M1 use for printing? Let me go grab that module and see what it looks like.
Tim, what you predicting my brakes on me, man? What's going on? Well, I did come straight in from going to eat too, and drank quite a few glasses of tea with my Carolina Reaper hot sauce wings that I had. They really weren't that hot. I asked the lady too. I was like, "Hey, I want the hottest wings that you've got." And she said, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she said, "Well, that's going to be this one." And the guy from the kitchen's like, "No, you want these. These are hotter."
Right.
What
So
is that?
this is the ink module. Haven't even opened it yet. It's apparently an add-on.
look like they blurred the bottom part. Not sure if he has on shorts. Yeah, I got on shorts. I got on shorts. See, woohoo!
Easy there. That goes on your other channel.
Oh, now the background's blurred because I'm in a motel room, and I didn't think you guys would find that very interesting. See, inside, it's, and this lighting is terrible, so that makes it look a little better. But yeah,
Found the ink
what is
module.
I was going to say, what is that? It looks like you've been down to the dispensary or something.
Looks like your typical
I used to have an inkjet printer that used those.
Yeah. So I mean, it looks very suspiciously like some other brands' ink cartridges. Have to do a little more research on this, but
Like a HP, maybe.
kinda, yeah. So yeah, it's just tricolor. There's no black.
Hmm.
And here is the actual module, the bag. There we go. So these things
Wow.
just kind of dovetail in, and then it's got the pins on there that lock in, and then there's a little lever that drops down. So,
And that's the module for doing what now? That's the
this is
printer.
the inkjet. This for the inkjet module. So this swaps out
Where
with like
does-
the laser
okay.
module as well as others. So
Well, all right then. Somebody's asking about sharks. I don't know if they're talking about me, but so far I haven't. We literally just got here earlier today and went and got something to eat and came back, and that is it. Here's something. Face has got a little red spot on it there. Got into something.
Anyway.
Stone is saying Evening just got into laser stuff, been in 3D printing and vinyl cutting for a few years. What is the hinder to you'd like to have to know prior to start into this hobby? With lasers, it's just like any other computer controlled machine. You can spend as much money as you want to spend or as little. There's all kinds of upgrades and just little rabbit holes to go down. But it's cool. It's fun. And you can make a lot of cool stuff with it. Because I have run the gamut from lasers to CNCs to 3D printers to you name it.
So I would say two things. Contrary to what some places will advertise, you want to run this in an area that you can move some air through. You want good ventilation. Hopefully, either your laser comes with a good enclosure or you can build one around it. It's really a must-have. It's really hard to do these unless you've got an open air carport in really good weather. It's hard to run one of these without a good ventilation setup. The other thing is just plan on start out with some cardboard and such, but just plan on burning through material. I mean, that's your best way you're going to learn. Anytime you learn to take on a new type of material, just plan on you're going to need to destroy some of it, running material tests and experimenting and whatnot, because no two materials act the same. There's always differences, and then even two different lasers in two different locations, or two of the same lasers in two different locations can be slightly different. So learn to do your own tests and figure out the material. Those are things I think people kind of struggle with. Is they kind of expect to be able to set this in their kitchen or in their office and just run it. and then they learn real quickly that's not going to work very well. And then you basically gotta run through some material to really learn your machine and what it can do and what works for best in your environment.
But the more of that you do, it actually gets a little easier.
Oh
That's
yeah,
always the best practice, but you can get yourself out of some binds occasionally by getting lucky on settings. But that takes a lot of practice, a lot of practice.
yeah.
If you the more stuff you tear up, the more you're going to learn.
Yep.
How are you, Rick? How's it going, sir? Good evening. Yeah, Chris, those inkjets. Like I said, I've had some of those printers in my house before, and those things are very that liquid that goes in those things are very, very expensive. You buy it by the gallon.
Yeah, I haven't had an inkjet printer in a long time. Even at home, I've got a color laser now for
Do
doing
you
my
remember when
printing.
they came out with those refill kits where it was basically like a hypo needle and you could like inject it?
Yeah,
But then it didn't take but about one time of having that go south, and you're like, oh wait, okay, we'll just buy them.
yeah, yep.
But yeah, we used to have that. It was like a reload kit for them where you just injected ink back into them.
Steve's saying I just had my laser delivered Friday. Complete noob the laser. Should I upgrade anything right out of the box? Air compressor. Depends on what laser you've got. Honestly,
Yeah.
though, I would get it all together and play around with it. See how it's working for you because I'm sure there's a bunch of upgrades that even like with the 3D printers, you'll see videos for like these bamboo saying, "Oh, here's the 5 upgrades you must do right away." And I went through them and went, maybe 2 of them are good for me. Whereas
Yeah.
Clack did the the AMS clamp on top. I'm not going to. I mean, what? So
Well, mine was
the best
a
thing,
matter of footprint. I needed a
yeah,
smaller footprint because I
yeah,
didn't have the counter space.
right. And a lot of people will say you got to do that. Whereas for me, I'm like, nah, I'm okay without it. But um, yeah, it a lot of times I would say run it as is and just see how it's working for you. Now there are some of them where they can definitely um, benefit from certain upgrades, but everyone's slightly different as far as what their needs are. So I hate saying you have to do this without understanding better like what you're trying to do with it. So yeah, just hopefully it's a more popular brand and there's some videos out there. Perhaps Clack and I have some videos out on it, and that'll give you some good ideas. And I would start with material tests, then do a sip. Like I always recommend people create a keychain after you've kind of run your material test. Create a keychain because you got to do an engrave on it. You got to do a cutout. Um, if you can kind of figure those things out, you can just start building off of those.
Yeah. V, I didn't see any stickers. Not sure what the deal is with that. I did see you said something about your internet was slowing down, or about possibly. But yeah, yeah. I don't. The only printers that I have right now, we've got that. I've got an Epson. I think it's an Epson, but it's just one of the more or less it just takes a toner. It's just a black only that we use for documents inside the house. Maybe it's not an Epson. What is it? The brand of that thing? Hey, let me look at my apps. But we've just got like a little, just a document printer in the house that we use for stuff. But it doesn't. It takes toner, not the cartridges like the inkjet or whatever. Let's see. I had an app for it. Let's see what it's called. What? Oh, Brother. That's it. It's the Brother because that's the only printer on my computer. Duh. But it's just a regular document printer. HL L2305 printer. Yeah. But we had to replace the toner in it the other day, and I didn't even know it took toner. So we don't use it a lot. We've had the thing about 5 years now.
Well, that's the nice thing about a toner-based one is that it doesn't dry up, it doesn't clog up. I mean, it can, the rollers and such can dry up, and then you start getting issues with it. But it's that was my problem with a lot of inkjets is that they'd either the ink would dry up or the nozzles would get all clogged and dried up. You could
Yeah.
sometimes revive them with like alcohol and such, but if you're not printing too often, it's almost cheaper nowadays to pick up an inexpensive color or black and white, just laser, and that stuff will last you a while. But it just sucks when you go to replace the donor cartridge because you're like, ooh, those are not cheap, but they
Yeah, it
thousands of papers.
wasn't terribly cheap, but I mean, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be either. Because we had to buy one the other day.
Yeah,
2305.
but yeah, no, I've got my HP LaserJet here, multicolor.
Yeah. But yeah, the printer itself's only like $165 on Amazon, so it's not too bad. But like I said, all we use it for is just printing like documents, tax paperwork, and stuff like that. I mean, we don't do anything heavy on it. If we need heavy printers, we can always take it into town and do it there somewhere. But yeah,
Sam, that's a lot of ornaments. Hopefully you're getting stocked up or have a pre-order on them and such. So awesome that they had the need for that. But yeah, it does definitely sound like time to do a good cleanup after running that.
uh, Tim's asking about the Sonic Pad work on the bamboo. I don't think so. The whole object of the Sonic Pad was to be able to run a different operating system on the Ender as opposed to the very limited controller and software that it came with, was to try to get a little bit faster software. I don't think that the A1 would benefit from that, because I think the controller in it is already leaps and bounds above what the Ender came with. So, because I'm telling you, just straight out of the box, it outperforms my Sonic Pad Ender already. So, if anything, it's amazing. Now, like I said, the Ender is an older machine. That thing's been around now for what, 5 or 6 years? I mean, it's been around for a
Well,
while.
I mean, Ender's been around. I mean, that's part of the problem with Ender is that the number of printers they have. It seemed like every other one was maybe good or bad, and
Yeah.
the Creality Ender 3 Pro
Ender 3 version
V2
2
something
Neo.
something. Yeah, it's just like it's hard to track which one specifically everybody had,
Yeah.
and so
Mine was a Ender 3 version 2 Neo
yeah,
with a Sprite extruder, upgraded springs, and bed adjustments with the Sonic Pad. So technically, you had to install the machine not as an Ender 3, but as what they called it, fast Ender was the
mm,
profile that they created for that. So there's a lot to it, but this one is just so much easier. And that's, you know, telling people that haven't gotten into it before, you know, pros and cons, the Ender compared to the bamboo. It's like, okay, skip all the headache, just skip with the bamboo and still get really 20-minute benchy, 20-minute benchy. Like that's unreal. And
yeah,
the one I did was awesome. Like it printed perfect.
yeah.
I was really impressed.
This one came out pretty well. There's like just one line that a layer shift ish. Yeah, it's not even that. It just there's one line around the bottom, but like the overhangs are pretty good.
Yeah.
So yeah, for a 20-minute job, and which like 5 minutes of that was like calibration and flow stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard to beat these right now. Uh, Robbie Clack doesn't have the A1 Mini. I do. I haven't done the top mount, but I've seen a few people do it for a single spool, um, and they've had okay success. You do need to move the filament inlet on the Bowden tube, but for me, it's okay where it's at because I got to have that space back to the wall for the bed that slings around anyway. But I've seen other people do it without having any issues, and he put the whole AMS system on top of the larger one, the regular A1.
Yeah. And I used the files that you can go into Bamboo's app,
Mm-hmm.
and they have those files in there for that. They have a video on their website showing you how to put it all together. Now, it is a lengthy print. Like one's an 8 hour, and I think the other one's a 6.5 hour print for the
Yep.
two sets of parts that you have to have. And instead of doing mine in white like they did, I did the leg supports and the leg stiffeners and everything in white. And then I did the actual mount and everything in black because I wanted to go with the black and white theme instead of just all white. And and I just kind of wanted to balance the load on my filament because I had way more black than I did white. So I went that route. But it turned out really nice. I think it looks pretty sweet. I don't know if y'all saw the videos. I've dropped a couple of shorts with it in the past few days, but it's doing a pretty good job. Rick, I'm not actually on vacation. I'm in a conference. I'm at Orange Beach, Alabama, which is right next to Gulf Shores, right near Pensacola, Florida. Like you got Pensacola that way, and Gulf Shores, Alabama, back that way.
Steve, yeah, generally, yes, we recommend Lightburn. There are a few lasers, specifically like from Xtool, that because of certain features work better with their software. But they're pretty good about making a fair amount of compatibility with Lightburn for theirs. But yeah, it's we strongly recommend that. It's once you learn that, 90% of the probably 95% of the lasers that you're going to interface with, from diodes to most mid-level CO2s. You get into the high-end ones, you're going to get into some specialty software there, but you'll be able to translate that over. You're not stuck in one ecosystem. You can jump from a few different lasers and be pretty comfortable with that software. So, and yeah, it runs on Mac pretty well. A few people, we were talking earlier with some people that had running into some issues with like cameras and such, but we've both run it on at least MacBook Pros, and it works pretty well. It's laid out almost identical. There's always slight menu structure and shortcut keys are slightly different between the two, but yes, definitely strongly recommend Lightburn.
Well, Rich, if they get down here and need something, tell them holler at me. But yeah, I'm in Orange Beach. I'll be here for a few days for a work-related conference, and we just got here today. Got settled in. The conference starts tomorrow and goes, like I said, pretty much the entire week. So, but yes, I am in LA, Lower Alabama, and it is considered to be Alabama's redneck Riviera. That is true.
When you retire, you can start going to other conferences.
Well, yeah. Well, I will be going back to Atlanta this year. And I think Brandy's actually going with me this year to Atlanta, she says. So we'll see. I'm going to go to that one again, Workbench Con. But yeah, they're leaving there in about an hour to come home. Well, it's actually pretty nice out there. There's a lot of people out there on the beach with flashlights looking for those little crabs. I don't go out there a whole lot because where I live is real sandy, and I get enough sand where I'm at. I did think about maybe trying to go out there and do some fishing, but I really don't know what I'm doing out there. I hear there's catfish in the ocean, but I don't think it's going to be the same catfish I'm used to catching back home. So I've heard they're a lot bonier.
Brian says he's struggling with the P2 laser and engraving canvas, 3 colors, yellow, red, and black on top coat. Any tips?
Test.
Yeah, this is one of those areas where it does take a number of tests, and also it really requires you to get your painting, your application down really consistent, because you're burning through those layers to expose the colors, and if you go really heavy on one but then really light on the next one, your power settings are going to be a little bit off. So it's a bit of an art form figuring that out, but there's also a little bit of science between figuring out if you can get your canvases covered consistently, with the same method, and try to get the same number of passes, the same flow, then you can start dialing your settings and such. And in those cases, less is more. It's very easy to blow through all the layers of paint and even get through the primer coat on the canvas, and then you just end up with like brown.
Yeah, I was gonna say you got to start out really, really low power with the spray paint stuff, because especially like black paint or red or orange, it's not going to take a whole lot to knock that paint loose. So you're going to have to start really, really, really low with your power settings. I will say that I have found it easier doing that kind of stuff if you have like the more reflective paints, like the lighter colors under the bottom. It to me, it's it just kind of adds a little bit of that extra security that if you're a little too hot, the lighter colors are a little more forgiving to not like totally just disappear.
Mhm.
So, but that's one of those things you've got to really love it to play with that, because I don't know that there's any situation to where I would feel like I could make money off of doing those consistently, because it's more of an artistic thing that you just kind of got to do it because you like it, I think. Because the results can vary drastically, like you said, depending on the paint, how thick the paint was, how thin the canvas, the temperature at the time you engraved it. There's a lot of variables. So,
Yeah, I try to do those in. I try to paint my canvases more in bulk. So I'll try to do like, 3 or 4 at a time. And my first one will just be a sacrificial test, you know, if even if I even if I even if I have some settings that work well, I will retest them just to make sure my paint application was about the same. Um, and yeah, you're going to need to run it fairly low on that CO2. So it's gonna definitely blast through that pretty easily.
uh, Tim, I don't know that be honest with you, the ones that I've done, I use regular spray paint, like Rust-Oleum. Was it the 2X? I love that
Hmm.
stuff because it's
Yep.
easier for me to get a consistent coat with 2X than it is any of the others, just because I don't know if it's just because I got practice with it or what, but I just use regular spray paint, and I have the ritual, left, right, up, down, 45, uh, as far as the manner in which you put it on to try to get a consistent pattern. But that's all I've ever used. I've never used like brush type paints or anything like that. So Barry's saying Opelosa catfish is as good as it gets. Wonder if that's what's in. Wonder if that's what's in that water out there. I may try it. I went and looked to see how much I could find. I didn't bring any of my fishing stuff from the house because I figured that the Coosa River stuff wouldn't be adequate down here. But there's a Walmart nearby that has like a little, you know, uh, fishing from the bank starter kit that I found. So I may wind up getting me an umbrella and a chair and going out here and sitting after we get out of class.
It's not one of those little Barbie fishing poles,
No,
is it?
no, no. It actually looked like a pretty decent rig. I could use it because I fish below the dams a lot. And next time you come up here and go hang out, I'll take you up there down below the dam while they're generating,
Hmm.
where the water is expelled from underneath and it looks like a volcano of water. That's some of the best fishing you'll ever do. Uh, so, the deep sea reels, you can actually use them up there, because if you catch a 30-pound fish in that 25, 25 mile an hour moving water, it can feel like an 80-pound fish. So, yeah, I've heard the ocean catfish sting a little worse than regular catfish. So I don't know. I don't know where I would fry some catfish at in this motel room. They might not appreciate that. Bring a fry daddy in here. Have my fry daddy sit up out here on the balcony. But yeah, yeah. Willow Tree saying that he's like a 350 to 650 speed and 11 to 16 power. And yeah, especially on a larger CO2, you're really gonna have to dial it back as far as the power output. I haven't
Yeah.
really fooled with any canvas since I got beyond 20 watt diodes. But even with the 20-watt diodes, I'm running like 5-10% power output. So
And sounds like Willow Tree did a series on YouTube. Uh,
yeah,
Commented earlier on that, so you know maybe a good source there. Check out the video series on that. Might pick up some tips on that. So, but yeah, it's definitely one of those. Gotta work out the process. Take some patience. Learn it. But I mean, once you get it down, you could make some pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool. I've seen a lot of people do some amazing work with that. I've had mixed results because I usually get impatient or move on. It's one of those things that and that's why we'll prep a number of canvases, is that if you only do one or two, you do your material test on the one and then you screw up the other one. Well, now you got to go out and paint, and you got to wait and let it dry each color, and then it usually is better, I have found, let that paint cure a little bit longer, because otherwise it gets really gummy,
Mm-hmm.
and it can it has a different effect. So I that's where I struggle. It's like, all right, do step 1, 2, 3, now wait 24 hours, and you're like, but I want to finish now.
So what you're saying is you lack patience.
No, not that at all. Yes.
Yeah, I do too. Oh, Mark said go get you a pocket fisherman. I actually have one of those little brown things when I was a kid that you could fold up, like, you know what I'm talking about. It had a tackle box in the end of it. As seen on TV ones. I had one of those when I was a kid, but I don't think that would work out here.
Yeah.
But if I do go get me a reeling rod, I'll bring you. I'll try to make some videos. I did bring my little DJI magnetic camera with me, and of course I have my glasses.
Read this little thing.
Yep, I have that with me. I brought it with me. I started to bring my DJI, but I was like, I'm gonna need my hands free if I'm fishing, so I'm gonna clip that.
Yeah, speaking of this is one of the things I was going to look into, some
3D
3D
printing.
fixtures for.
Yeah, done been there. There's actually several little enclosures that you can make that are
Yeah,
already already have the files out there.
I've seen some of those. But interestingly enough, so this one, it's got the camera on the front and the screen on the back. But if you're doing like vlogging, selfie style stuff, I almost wouldn't mind having one that could like incorporate your phone underneath it as well,
Yeah.
just to make sure you're framing it right. I'd used mine in my video when I first got to the campsite, and it was just kind of, I was testing that out. Actually impressed with how the internal microphone on that worked pretty well. So,
Yeah.
but
Tim, I will tell you that the cracking pattern is going to be due to, like, basically you painted a second layer on top of a layer of paint that either was not all the way cured or whatever, and it'll do that. It'll look like mud, like
it
in a mud hole. It'll just start cracking and folding up.
it it can also be from different types of spray paint.
Yeah.
So anytime I'm doing this, I always make sure I use the same brand. So like if I'm using Rust-Oleum 2X, I get all three whatever colors, same brand, same style, because their agents can mix and cause the
The
cracking.
dry time's a little different. Yeah, you don't want to go mixing them up. But I have found, even using the same type paint, if you put a thick coat on there and you let's say you set it out in the sun and the outer part dries in the sun, but the under part still isn't quite dry. If you put another layer on top of that and it dries real fast, now you're gonna have those little cracks,
Yeah.
because the part underneath, as it dries, it's just basically gonna pull that stuff apart.
Well, and you got to pay attention to their recoat times, because you either got to do it within the time where it's still going to kind of adhere and gel to it, or you got to wait till it fully cures. So, yeah.
Yeah. But like I said, those things are a lot of work. They're cool when you get it to work, but there's a lot of work. I've got some, and I played with them and played with them and played with them. And I'm like, you know what? I can get some pretty cool results, but it's a lot of work just to be on a canvas.
Mm-hmm.
But it is cool when you finally get it to work and you've got, like I say, I did like a bumblebee, I think it was, and I had like yellow and black, and it was just, it looked pretty good, but it's a lot of work.
Jeffrey, I've actually done more with the canvas boards now. The canvas over the frame is fine, but if it's not stretched right, or you can end up getting more sag in those. Whereas the canvas boards are going to give you a little more consistent, hard surface that's not going to sag. So, I mean, unless your end result really needs that framed canvas look, the boards seem to work really well, and they're thinner, so they're, if your end product might be finished off easier. So, but I've done both. I just kind of like using the canvas boards because they, the less bulk on there.
Yeah. I tell you what, I'd be kind of interested to see, but it would be kind of cool is some of like those X tool screens for the screen printer or whatever.
Hmm.
If you use those up and like completely removed all the the material, make you a little frame and stretch those on there and do some painting. That'd be a
Well, I
cool
mean,
little recycling project, I guess.
in theory, you should be able to remove all the emulsion and then reapply emulsion to it. But I have found in my work with that they don't like to when
The
you reattach
stretching.
them to the frame, they don't stretch out as tight, and
Yeah.
you're never going to get them back in the exact spot they were before. So
Yeah.
yeah. But Steve says they bought Dollar General canvas. I haven't tried those out, but quite often Michaels will have a good sale on them. Usually in their bulk packs of depends on what size, but usually you get like at least 4, if not 8, of the boards, or 4 or 6 of the framed canvas ones. So I mean, definitely. Speaking of crafting and whatnot, Michaels and Hobby Lobby, pay attention to their sales. It's good way to stock up on miscellaneous things. You never know when they're going to have a 40 or 50% off, or a buy one get one free on their
Yeah.
those shadow boxes that work well with the mirrors. Just sign up for their email alerts and grab them when they are on sale, because hey, it all counts towards the bottom dollar.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's like I said, it's a rabbit hole with lasers, especially the different materials. Like I said, I have spent so much money playing around with different materials, and then it's like, you know what, I'm moving on. This rabbit hole's been deep enough.
Well, it's like the stainless steel coloring stuff.
Oh Lord,
you know,
yes.
I eh, getting that material and burning through it. You're just kind of like, okay, this isn't cheap. You know, this isn't your Luan plywood you're burning through.
No. Oh, speaking of which, guys, I have found me a new distributor. I'm gonna
Oh,
wait. Yes, I have found a place near my house that I can get a 4x8 sheet of birch plywood. Now he said it's technically probably not Baltic birch because of the stuff that's going on in Ukraine and all that, but it is birch for plywood, pre-finished. That is awesome. I mean, I've played around with it. I haven't brought any of it home yet, but I can get a 4x8 sheet of pre-finished for $20. Yes, yes. They have every hardwood that you can think of. Like they had mahogany. They had mahogany slabs the other day that were 16 inches wide. Now it's expensive, but for CNC projects and for laser projects, they have quarter-inch cherry, quarter-inch black walnut, quarter-inch birch, quarter-inch maple. I mean, they had all, and they had it pre-finished and not finished. And so I've got to get a day off to where I can go up there. They're more of a wholesaler. The guy told me they actually sell to what you call it? Dang it, the expensive wood store, woodcraft.
woodcraft. Okay.
Yes, he
Yeah.
says they actually sell to woodcraft, like their milled lumbers and stuff.
Hmm.
But he actually has right now like 2 containers, shipping containers full of metric MDF that they ordered accidentally. That he said that anybody that wants MDF that's like, was it 13 millimeter? It was like weird numbers like 12 millimeter or whatever. He give you a smoking hot deal. And they also have some waterproof MDF that I didn't know was a real thing.
Hmm.
That I'm going to try a couple pieces of it. It's like 3/4 of an inch or inch thick, but it's rugby architectural materials is the name of it. They have a store all over Georgia, and they have one in Chattanooga. And it's now you got to buy like 20 sheets of the plywood to get that price. But I'm going to pitch in with me and Klein and Billy, and we're going to get a sample pack of all those different quarter-inch plies and try that out. The only downside is you got to be able to resaw it yourself. you're not going to be able to show up in a minivan and then cut it down for you. So,
Well, I
yeah,
mean,
Chris, it's some kind of MDF. He showed me a piece of it that had been CNC'd into a coaster. It's MDF, but it's almost like it's MDF made with epoxy or something. It looked like it'd be something really cool for the CNC stuff.
so I mean, first off, if we would have been driving my minivan that one day, we wouldn't have to worry about the rain because it would have been inside. So don't knock the minivans in their hauling capacity. But
True.
no, that is why that's why I recommend people, look for your local hardwood dealers or maybe your local cabinet shops and such that deal in these types of woods. You'd be surprised what's available locally and what types of deals you can get on them. So don't
Yeah.
just think that Home Depot, Lowe's, or up here in the Midwest, Menards is where it's at. You can often
Yeah.
find better quality material and sometimes save some money at it as well. So definitely do
Okay.
some looking
Well,
around.
yeah. Well, this Rugby Architectural Building Supply or building, what do they call it? Building equipment. Atlanta, Georgia, Clanton, Alabama, Grand Pierre, Texas, Columbus, Georgia, Tampa, Florida, Houston, Texas, Daisy, Tennessee, Savannah, North Carolina, Virginia. It seems like they're probably mostly, well, Albuquerque, New Mexico. They're a nationwide distributor. Salt Lake, Utah, Carlsbad, New Jersey. But the problem is they're not like a big box, so they're only 8 to 4:30 Monday through Friday. So in order for me to go by there, I have to take off work early, or get one of my friends that doesn't work during the day to go by there and pick the stuff up
Yep.
for me. But the guy was telling me, he's like, if you'll get 20 sheets, I'll give you this price if you get. But that is ridiculous because the unfinished birch. He was saying I could get it for like $16 to $18 a sheet, and it felt like some good plywood. I'd like to see it cut to make sure, because some of it did look like it was that MDF core, especially the maple and the cherry plywood. It looked like it was the MDF core, but it, it looked good. It was nice and sturdy. So we'll see.
Hmm. Yeah. Yep.
It's Rugby
Yeah.
Architectural Materials, I think. It's rugby, like the sport rugby. Architectural Materials or something like that. He said, the guy that I was talking to said that Atlanta and Chattanooga and places like that they basically order stuff like by the shipping container. They had shipping containers of nothing but just plywood in this place. It was massive.
Yeah. Um, yeah. No. When I did some shopping around when I was looking for the Baltic birch back almost 10 years ago, I was able to find a regional distributor here in the central states. They had a place out of central Iowa, but they did deliveries. So weekly they were up in my area, and it I only had to pay like a $15 freight charge. They would bring it right to my shop and unload it.
Hmm.
And as long as you had to be a legit business and get set up with them that way, provide all your tax information and everything that. But yeah, then I was getting basically dealer or I wouldn't say wholesale prices, but I had a hard time matching them, and they were delivering them right to me. Yes, I had to make sure I was available at that time, but I worked it out with the truck drivers. A lot of times they'd either meet me at work and I would just bring my trailer up, or I would meet them at a location that was more convenient to them, because while they could bring the truck to my neighborhood, they couldn't actually bring it right to my shop. So we always had to unload it into my trailer, and I'd drive it around and down the alley to my shop anyway. So I was like, hey, if there's a more convenient spot you want to unload, let me know. I'll meet you there. And so a lot of these places will work with you, but you do have to have a little bit of a volume and generally be legit business. So, but that's why I say talk to some of your cabinet shops around. Sometimes they have offcuts, or if you want to add something to their order and you're going to do it regularly, they might be able to work out something where it helps them to pad their order. You buy a few things from them. So it's worth making a few calls and some of those business to business kind of things. But
Yeah. But yeah, that guy was like, because I was just taking a tour. He wanted to show me a tour of the warehouse and what all they had and all that. And we get over to the MDF area, and he's like, do you need any metric MDF? I'm like, dude, I really don't. I mean, if I'm using MDF, I really don't care if it's 12 millimeter or half inch. I mean, chances are I'm using it for something for the CNC. And he said he had a lot of the metric because they had ordered it accidentally, and apparently they provide materials for a lot of like cabinet makers and cabinet, places that make like commercial grade cabinets. And he said that the metrics, their tooling set up for their cabinets and stuff, they can't use it, and so he's basically stuck with a surplus of it. And he's like, I'll put it on your right. So I'm gonna get back with him when I get back home and get a chance, because I'm getting to where I need to re-up some materials. And if that birch plywood will work and it's that cheap, heck, I'll start using that instead of the Luan, because it looked like it would be a lot stiffer, a lot more resilient material than what I've been using. So
sure,
especially the fact that it comes with like the different, maple and all that too. Because normally, those sheets are like 12 by 24 sheet. You get 5 of them for like $25. For me to be able to buy a whole 4x8 sheet and break it down, that would be for $20. That would be awesome.
Yeah. But I mean, speaking of Baltic birch, that's all metric, or the real stuff really is metric. So that's where, when I'm talking about, I'm using 3 millimeter Baltic birch, that's really close to 1/8, but it's not, it's a little bit under.
Yeah.
Same thing, 1/4 inch, 6 mil, and yeah, I ran into that. I actually ran into that when I was making my stands. They needed to have that dimension, the way the things fit. And we ended up getting, it wasn't a big order, but it was a few sheets that they had just enough thickness difference that it was throwing things off, and it was very frustrating. So I can totally understand the cabinet makers going, yeah, no, we're not retooling for this slight difference in thickness.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he said that because he told me, he said, if you got a need for this, I'll put it on your right. He said, you can bring as many trucks as you want, I'll put it on your right. I'm like, he's like, I can't get rid of it. He said, I got these big pallets sitting here with, and containers slapped full of it, and it's just stuck.
Hard. Well, I mean, yeah.
But I was thinking it would be good for spoil boards for machines, or for replacing your spoil boards or capping your spoil boards on your CNC, because do you really care if it's a millimeter or two thinner?
Well, and you could even build the bulk of an enclosure out of MDF if it's at least half inch or bigger.
Yeah. He had they had some he had some MDF up to 1 inch thick MDF, and thicker, but they had like sheets of like 1 inch thick MDF, and I was like, that is insane.
Nice.
But
cool stuff.
Bill, the thinnest I've ever, I mean, I can actually cut material on my sawmill thin enough you can hold it up to the sun and see through it. But typically speaking, I'll cut cedar and stuff like that. I'll cut that cedar down to like 1/4 inch. That way I can play with it with the lasers and so forth. But you can actually cut it about the thickness of the blade, which is probably about 2 millimeters, and you can see through it. But of course, any material, if you cut it too thin and you try to dry it, it's going to split and turn into a potato chip. But cedar is one of those that you can actually get by with cutting it like 1/4 inch thick, and it stays flat, doesn't curl or nothing like
that. Tim, you'll have to wait and see.
The jury's still out.
I haven't had much chance to use an F1 Ultra yet, but that should be changing shortly. And they do have similar specs, but they are different form factors. In the X-Tool is a little more of a stationary, larger machine, whereas the Laserpecker is more their traditional handheld on a stand with an optional enclosure that is supposed to be coming out, I believe, sometime in August, or maybe they're shipping them to some reviewers in August. But so we'll see. Hopefully, we'll be able to take a look and kind of highlight what things are better about each one and such. But yeah, as right now, I can't really say, because I haven't really had much experience on an F1 yet. So, but that should be changing.
If your friends at Laserpecker tell the truth, hopefully within the next month or so, I'll know what that machine's like.
So,
but I'm not in a rush.
Yeah,
to do right now.
I mean, the interesting thing is, I mean, I'd have to look at price wise, but looking at some of the other just stationary or the like the comm marker 20-watt fiber, just the standalone unit. Um, that would be an interesting thing to compare to the laser pecker, because the laser pecker also has the blue diode, and does the 20-watt to 20-watt equate, because it's actually in a smaller form factor. Now, price wise, I think the laser pecker is still going to be a little more expensive, but depending on by how much, maybe it's worth it to have the flexibility with the blue diode and a few of the other things. But yeah, the F1 Ultra is kind of seems like it's kind of in a little bit of a class of its own, because it's bulkier in nature, but we'll see.
Yeah, it is a little bit bigger. All right, guys. So we're at 2 hours and 10 minutes. We've actually went over a little bit.
We have.
Yes, we have. But if you hadn't already, go check out the description down below. We have the laser engraving community page on Facebook. You guys are more than glad to go check that out. Join the group. It's where we share ideas, projects, information. We do try to keep it policed up to try to keep all the spammers and scammers out of there. Sometimes it takes us a minute to recognize them, but you never know what kind of stuff's going to come into there. But if you hadn't joined the laser engraving community page already, go check that out. Also, there's links to the map that me and Steve both have in our descriptions, and that way we can kind of see where people are. And if you're in the Orange Beach, Pensacola, Gulf Shores area this week, I will be hopefully putting out a post letting some guys know. I've had a couple people email me that are in the area wanting to kind of get together and maybe go out, have some supper, and have a couple drinks or something, just to meet some of you guys and be able to, chill out for a little while, talk shop. So if you're in the area, get with me and let me know, and we'll try to get something out. I'm going to try to schedule something hopefully for like Wednesday or Thursday, to where we can, go check out some wings and see who has the spiciest wings in town or whatever. So we'll see how that goes. So which one you talking about there, Brian? My old trusty one that almost got ruined by a bullet, or the other one? Yeah, that one almost got messed up. You can see the entry. There's the entry right there. That one almost got ruined. But yeah, if it had been, if this little hole right here had been down just a little more, I would have had a little problem with my barbed wire. But it went in right there, and it went up through here and stopped back there. So it didn't mess it up. And then, of course, that one, I don't know if y'all can tell what that is, but that's the little operator's crest for any of you SWAT guys probably know what it is. But yeah, but that was fun. I'm gonna go out here and I guess hang out near the beach for a minute and chillax. But yeah, that was believe it or not, that was a ricochet during some training. Oh, it was a bad situation, but yeah, it basically came across and went in here and went all the way back to about right in there somewhere and lodged. And it was a week before I had a sniper competition coming up, and it was a week before the competition, and they wanted to like go in and cut and get it out or whatever. But I talked the doctor into going in through the hole with a pair of needle nose pliers and pulling it back out the way it came in, to avoid having to have surgery, because if I'd had that surgery, they wouldn't have let me compete in the competition. But luckily, I didn't have to have surgery, and I was able to compete in the following, was it like 2 weeks later, and got first place in the competition. And my team, actually, we won. We all went and got mohawks and showed up at the event and won the competition. I'm trying to find the picture too. I'll show you the picture right quick. But it was a cool week. Some of the good old days.
Fun stuff.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. It was in Little Rock, Arkansas. Actually, we got to compete against Dallas and GSG 9 and some of the guys from the Nuclear Protection Forces, and there was some really cool dudes there, like a bunch of ex-Navy SEALs and stuff. Which they walked the dog on us. Those guys were good, but it was fun trying. It was fun trying. Let's see what we got here. I know I got at least one picture of it. Stand by. Oh, yep, there it is. Let me see if I can. Well, save as. Well, hang on. You checking it out while I'm trying to save a picture here. There we go. Now let me see if I can get it to save. I don't have my usual setup, guys. Let's see. Intro video. My goodness, how do you add a feed?
You can share your screen at the bottom. Then you can just pick a window or an app.
Oh, here it is. Add. Image. Downloads. Did that? No. It ain't gonna let me. All files.
Well, maybe you can.
Oh my goodness. Is it not gonna let me? Answer a question or something.
Maybe you can share it next week or something. Nancy, what do? I work in IT. I'm the chief information officer for a local community college, and here in southern Minnesota. So, been doing that for 20 some odd years.
Ah, there it is. There it is. That was the when it was freshly hurt. So that was a long time ago, fellas. All right, where's my actual camera at?
Now you broke it all.
Yeah, I have. I don't know how to get rid of this picture. Enable camera. Okay, where's the picture at? Steve, where are we going here?
It out. I don't know what you did.
Hide. Okay, that worked. That got rid of it. But anyways, yeah, we
All right. Well, you've got a beach to go hit, and
oh yeah,
I've got I got to work tomorrow. So
yeah.
Thanks everyone for hanging out with us. It was fun watching Clark figure out how to share a photo.
Well, it's different with this setup.
I know.
I'm used to having my computer with all my
we'll be
stuff.
back next Sunday. Clark should be back in the shack. I should be here, whether I'm in my basement or out at the other shop. We will see how the weather holds. But appreciate everybody that's been checking out our content the past week or so. If you haven't checked out my camping video, it's a little bit different. I had a lot of fun, and you'll get to see a funny, familiar looking scarecrow in there. Otherwise, we'll definitely have more coming out. Clark will probably be busy with his stuff. I don't know if he's got anything queued up, but I'll hopefully be getting something out on these printers here this week, and we'll be diving into. I've got a backlog of other projects that hopefully I'll be getting out as well. But we will see what else comes our way. So I'll let you wrap it up.
Yeah, like I said, guys, out of the shop for the next week. As much as I would love to be in there cranking out projects and stuff, I'm down here near the water for the week. So anything comes up, I'll try to do a quick little video. But it's going to be a little tough answering questions and keeping up with everything without all my equipment. But I'm going to try to do the best I can with that. And maybe we'll get back in the shop. But yeah, here's some more pictures. That's a good looking fella right there from back in the day. Yes, sir. Long time ago. But yeah, it's hopefully the training will go well. I'm trying to get a little fishing in and have a little bit of R&R when it comes to that. But with the internet being down at the house, hopefully my wife can get that handled, because I know that's going to be irritating them, because our house is like a lot of automation, and without the internet, those automations are really kind of handicaps. But yeah, if you have any questions, just send them, and hopefully next week we'll be back in the shop and we can have a video about the bamboo and how me and Steve are relearning what it is to 3D print. So, but yeah. Hey, guys, I'm actually much darker than what this camera is making me look like. So I don't know if y'all know it or not, but this lighting is terrible. Okay, I'm not brilliant white. But y'all have a good one, and we'll see you later.